played this before?
Yeah, I know the King's Indian, kind of.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah. King's Indian is really powerful. You guys should look into it if you're looking for a really powerful opening. Okay, so you play G3, and this is a common system against the King's Indian, one of the most solid ones against the King's Indian. And after D6, King's Indian, he played this strange move E3. E3 is a sideline kind of, but it is quite powerful if you don't know what to do. But the main move is typically knight F3, and then after castles, white can play D4, and let's just say black will most likely play knight C6 or knight D7. But let's just say knight C6, castles, black's idea is to play E5, and after D5, knight E7, and we see white really has a solid position, but black's main goal is to get some F5, F4 counterplay, and attack the king side, which is the whole idea of the King's Indian, right? So that's typically what the most common approach for what white and black does. But he played this really interesting sideline. So here you played E6 here, right? You played E6 here. I think this is the first mistake, right? So if we follow the principles, let me ask you a question. What is your worst placed piece here? And what is your best placed piece?
I think my best placed piece is probably the G7 bishop. My worst pieces, especially since I just blocked it in, would probably be my light squared bishop.
Yeah, you're partially right, actually. So your worst, this knight is a bad piece, right? Because the knight is not doing anything, right? We would love to get the knight to C6, and then it can start controlling some squares. Do you guys see my arrows? Or no?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I can.
Alright, wait, let me,
They're green.
oh, you can see them?
I can. I don't know.
Oh. But, okay, but knight C6, you probably should play like knight C6, because we're developing our piece, and the knight controls some squares, right? You're partially right. The bishop on G7 has the potential to be a monster, right? But right now, it's not doing the best job, right? Because the knight's, guarding it, and the bishop is kind of restricted by the knight, right?
Right.
And you said the C8 bishop wasn't, your best piece, but I think I kind of disagree on that part, because I feel like the main idea in the King's Indian is your C8 bishop. If you trade this bishop off, the King's Indian wouldn't be like a reputable opening. The only reason people play the King's Indian is so they can get a kingside attack, and with the kingside attack, they need the light square bishop to generate the attack, right? So I think the C8 bishop is like your most valuable piece in this opening, because you need it to attack your opponent, which is the main idea in the King's Indian, right? So
Yeah.
that's why I don't think E6 is the best move here, because it's blocking the C8 bishop, right? And now you have to ask yourself, like, what is my bishop doing? And the question is, it's not doing anything, right? So typically, most grandmasters would play E5 here, following the King's Indian play. And if we look at the principles, this is develop our pieces to an active square. We're developing the pawn to control the center. And in the meantime, we're also enabling the light square bishop to become extremely active. So let's just say after E5 is probably what you should have done here. After castles, now, since we don't really know what to do, we can just develop our knight, which is our worst placed piece. And white, probably will play D3, right? Because this is the typical system for him. And here black can either develop the bishop to F5, or he can develop it to E6, with the idea of playing D5 in this case. And as you can see, you didn't really know what to do in the opening, but you somehow created some play just by following these principles, right? So I think E6 is a mistake, because the bishop, again, is really bad. But after, okay, C6 is fine move, I guess. Yeah, and then you play D5, which is really strong here. Here he took. Do you know why takes is a bad move for white? Can anyone tell me why taking is a bad move here?
Because he has more defenders, right?
Yeah, partially, yeah. But typically, you don't want to take, because now, if we take, you took with the C pawn, but for me, I'd probably take with the E pawn, just so we can get this bishop out the game. That's why I probably would take with the E pawn. So now he freed up our bishop. That's why I don't think you should take, because you'll free up his bishop. Instead, you probably should play like B3 here, right? And then just say, like, argue, like, what is your C8 bishop doing? And you're gonna have holes on this long diagonal. Let's just say like a move like H5. Like, you're gonna have some really major holes on the king side. But instead, he took, and I think this gave you some of your playback. And he recaptured with the C pawn. It's a pretty solid move. And he played E4. I really don't like E4. I think that move is like a really, really bad move. Were you like really surprised when you played E4 or no?
No, probably not.
Yeah, I don't really like E4. I think you should have just played B3 and just like somehow like develop this worst place piece, his worst place bishop. You probably should develop that somehow. But yeah, I think E4 was like the turning point for the game. And I think he played like amazing after this. Like he took, Like, you play, like, all engine moves here. Yeah, knight c5 was a mistake, and you played knight d5. And I feel like you're just better now, right? Because his pawn is extremely weak in the center. And we call this an isolated pawn, by the way. And isolated pawns are not necessarily good, because they have no supporting defenders, which means they're weak. But yeah, you played really good here. You played b6. Wait, do you know what Fio-Kettling is? Do you guys know what Fio-Kettling is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so you Fio-Kettled your bishop. That's really good.
Yeah, I had trouble. I guess it was because I played e6 early, but his g2 bishop felt so strong, and I had trouble getting that pawn out of the way without exposing the rook to the bishop. So that finally let me develop that piece.
Yeah. That's why, like, you played, like, a really good here, like, a really amazing chess here. That's why, like, he shouldn't have played e4. That's why, like, that's, like, the main mistake he made. And now you're just having such a pleasant position. You developed your worst placed piece, and now this bishop is going to control some diagonals. Yeah, you played queen d7, really logical move, just developing your queen, right?
Yep.
Knight c3. Yeah, you played knight e7, again, really solid move, just controlling the d5 square. a3 here. Yeah, here, I think you played rook c8, which is good. You also could think about playing rook fd8, right? Because maybe in the long term you want to trade, and this pawn is really weak on d4. Right, so maybe you can try to pressure the d4 pawn with the rook and the queen aligned. But you played rook c8, and I think that's a really logical move. I like that a lot. Queen d3. Yeah, rook d8. Rook d1. Knight f5. Yeah, you actually played, like, really amazing here.
Thanks. Yeah, I felt like he gave me a target with the isolated pawn, and so a book I read said you should blockade it with a minor piece and then go after it, which I tried to do, but I mean, you can see I just couldn't quite find a way to break through on it.
Yeah. No, you played really good here. Like, the only mistake you made was e6, right? Because the opening, you probably didn't know it too well. But besides that, like, you played like a 2000.
Wow.
You played really good here. Yeah, he didn't make any mistakes. And he played queen e2, and he blundered. So, if you're playing, like, a lower rated player, and you play really good moves, right, and your opponent, you know, he's just developing and making natural moves, not really doing anything to his position, in most cases, this hints that he'll make a mistake. And typically, a mistake results in a blunder. So yeah, so here, as you can see, you just smashed him. Like, he had no squares, he had no plan here, and you just developed your pieces. And he made a mistake again. He has nothing to do. Do you know why? Can you tell me, like, why is this queen e2 a blunder or a bad move?
I had to look at the computer, and it was just a tactic I missed. So I think if I take the knight, he takes back with pawn, and then I take the bishop, and he takes back with king, then I guess his b3 knight is hanging if I give a check on d5 with my queen.
Yeah, that's really good. That's good.
But I needed the computer.
It's fine.
The first time to explain why that was a blunder.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It takes practice, so. Yeah, I mean, knight takes e3 is still winning. Like, the engine clearly says this is winning, right? But as you can see, I think the next mistake you made was, I think bishop takes was fine. I think that was a mistake. You probably shouldn't trade pieces here, since trading pieces would only benefit white, right? Because in this case, you have more piece activity, and your rooks and the rooks are all aligned up, so it doesn't really make sense to trade pieces, especially if you have more piece activity. You're kind of giving away some of your activity by trading pieces, and that's helping him, right? So I don't think you probably should have. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have took, because now you're simplifying the position, which is not necessarily good for you if you're better. So queen b7, which is good. I mean, you're still better here, obviously. King g1, and here you played e5. E5 is a good move. You also probably could have played bishop h6, right? Because you see, white's king, white's pawns all on dark squares, right? So his dark squares are extremely weak. So maybe you could exploit that, and the bishop is developed too. So that's
sorry. So since his pawns are on dark squares, doesn't that make his dark squares strong, not weak?
Kind of, but like, you know, his dark squares, not necessarily. I think his pawns are on dark squares, which means it's an easy target for you to attack, right? Because as you can see, the e3 pawn, it's pretty solid though, right? Because it's defended by the queen. But in reality, it's a big weakness. In the endgame, or even then, the knight, without the queen, the pawn would just be gone, right? So technically, the pawn is a weakness, because it's not guarded by anything.
Got it. That makes sense. I think I had trouble switching in my mind, having the target on d4 and having now a target on e3.
Yeah. Because, like, the thing is, the e3 pawn is just a big weakness. Like, it's not guarded by anything besides the queen. So if we play bishop h6, I don't really see how he's really going to defend this e3 pawn, right? We're targeting his backward, isolated weakness on e3. And I think this is really strong. And he probably has to play rook d3 if he doesn't want to give up his pawn. And obviously now you're just crushing. Now you can play your favorite e5 move. And this is just like, this is beautiful for you. Like d5, you can play knight d6. Yeah, this is, you can play anything. And f5 is coming. So yeah, I think you should have played bishop h6 here, targeting his weakness. But you played e5. I mean, obviously it's a still extremely strong move. Yeah, d5. You probably should have played bishop h6 again. Again, targeting that weakness. Also, maybe you could have tried knight d6, which you played, I think. I was thinking you could have maybe tried knight d6 here too. The idea is we're trying to, you know, the knight in chess is a really good blockader. So if you have a passed pawn, normally you always want to put a knight, you know, blockading the pawn, because the knight is the best blockader against the pawn.
That makes sense. I think I thought that I could just add a third attacker to the pawn, but I didn't realize you could just push it, and I would only have one attacker.
Yeah, you don't need to rush it. If you have a better position, never rush it, because if you rush, you'll probably make some mistakes. Just stay calm and just slowly improve. Yeah, that's why, like, knight d6. Do you guys know why a knight is such a great blockader? Because it controls all these squares. It controls the b4, c4, e4, and the f5 square. That's why the knight is such a great blockader. But okay, so you play knight e7. Yeah, that's a passive move. I think that's the critical mistake here, because it doesn't really do anything after e4. And yeah, f5. What was your idea after f5?
I think the f5 idea was originally to eliminate the e4 pawn and then load up again on the d5 pawn.
Yeah, that's a fair enough idea. That's good. Good idea. But yeah, I probably f5 is weakening your position too much, right? Because even then, even if you play f5, your king side is going to be really weak.
Yeah, that definitely turned out to be true.
Yeah, and even if you take, his queen can just recapture. So it's not like the pawn is extremely weak, because he has like a knight and a rook defending the pawn. So I feel like the cost is like more, you know, more of a factor than the benefits. So yeah, I think f5 was a mistake because you're weakening the position too much. Yeah, and he played d6. I mean, it's not the best move, but it's not a bad move. Knight c6. Yeah, and he played really strong here. He played knight b5. Makes a lot of sense, right? Now your bishop kind of is a bad piece here.
Yeah.
Because it's guarded by the pawn. So you probably have to play the bishop to h6 to get that out. But yeah, a6. I think you just blundered here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, positional blunder. Yeah, maybe
What would have been better than a6?
queen d7.
And why is that?
Because okay, so first we have to identify the threat of what is white threatening, right? So white's threatening after it takes. His idea is the after knight c7. His idea is to put pressure with queen c4, right?
Yeah.
Right, that's his idea. So let's just say this queen c4, we win the knight. So we need to identify what knight b5 is threatening. So clearly we know the threat, right? So if we play queen d7 here first, knight c7 isn't so strong because now we can just move the knight here, and now as you can see, we can even play this or something, and he can't win that threat. And obviously we're still worse here by far, but it's at the end of the day, it's not like you know, maybe queen f7 here, but it's not like that bad of a position. Like you can still, you know, maintain the position. I mean, I'm sure there's other moves too, but queen d7 is probably the most solid move.
Yeah, because I had to immediately sack the exchange once you got
maybe,
that knight to c7.
Maybe queen f7 looks interesting too. Did you think about queen f7? That looks pretty interesting.
No, I think I was low on time and I blundered. I didn't realize he could get his knight to c7.
Yeah, because the idea is like this pawn, this knight is attacking, and it's also stopping like queen c4 ideas too. So I like queen f7. It's a good I feel like it's a good move. But yeah, you just have to identify what you're threatening and just stop that typically. But yeah, I think he just blundered here, and yeah, queen takes c5. Yeah, sure. He also could have played queen c4 check. This is just winning on the spot, but yeah,